Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. This morning, we shine a spotlight on closing the gap and breastfeeding for all.
Inside your spotlight this morning, we discuss with the NCRHA as they are hosting the World Breastfeeding Week. The theme this year, Closing the Gap, Breastfeeding Support for All. I want to welcome Kerry-Ann Andrews, midwife and BFHI trainer/counselor, and Eulyn Phillips, who's a district health visitor and educator, a BFHI trainer and counselor as well. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are we doing this morning?
We're fine.
Happy to have you here this morning. Tell me a little bit about Breastfeeding Week and why is it important for us to celebrate?
Okay, so World Breastfeeding Week, it starts from the 1st to the 7th of August. It's important that we actually shed some light on this week because there are a lot of benefits surrounding breastfeeding for both mother and baby. So now that we understand those benefits, we are now looking at sensitizing the nation about it so that they can see the importance of exclusive breastfeeding, meaning breastfeeding alone for the first 6 months, no water, no formula, and then we have complementary feeding where we continue breastfeeding and introduce food from the pot. So a lot of mothers, they are looking at breastfeeding as just the act of breastfeeding, but we are looking at breastfeeding as the benefits for baby, where those babies who are exclusively breastfed, they have a decreased number of allergies, they are less prone to cold flu viruses. Also, we look at things like NCDs, hypertension, diabetes. They are also associated with exclusive breastfeeding. And mommy, there are also benefits for her. There's a decreased risk of breast cancer, ovarian cancer. We could even look at decreased risk of osteoporosis, and the list goes on.
All right. Ms. Phillips, let me jump across to you and ask about the state that we're in now. When it comes to how long mothers breastfeed for generally in Trinidad and Tobago now, what is it like?
Well, we have like 10% rate of breastfeeding exclusively for up to 6 months.
Okay.
And we would like to raise that.
Why do you think we are 10% though? What's the reasons?
I think we are more into bottle feeding these days than breastfeeding. And we need to get the mummies to go back to the old time days when breastfeeding was the thing. Now, bottle feeding seems to be a fashion statement so that people, if they can buy formula and have their bottles and their bags, they feel, you know, they're looking good. But it's better for the baby to be breastfed, as Kerry-Ann said. There are so many benefits both to the baby and to the mother.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the support systems that NCRHA has in place for mothers to breastfeed.
I'm glad you said that, because I'd also like to stem from what Ms. Phillips was saying. She spoke about a lot of people using the bottles, but I believe that the support has a lot to do with mothers not breastfeeding. At North Central Regional Health Authority, we have support groups. We have counselors. We have a system where mothers could actually walk in and get hands-on assistance. We also have a phone number where there's a WhatsApp group, a chat where mothers have access to a counselor around the clock, and we work with them. So it's not as though after mother leaves the hospital, she's alone. And we don't only work with mother, we work with the family as well.
Right.
Because when mommy goes home, she needs that continued support to take place.
What does that support look like?
Yes, well, that's where I come in. And the district and the community. So when the patient leaves the hospital, they come over to us, right? And we pick up the slack at the district health visiting centers. So there, the patient brings her referral letter from the hospital, or we get a referral letter from the liaison unit in the hospital, and we follow up with home visits, right?
But what do you do at the home visits? Do you help them learn how to breastfeed?
Of course we do.
Hands-on
We
support.
talk with them about breastfeeding. We observe the breastfeeding so that we can give the help that might be needed if there is a need for help. And they can call, they can visit the health centers, And of course, there is a list of names with breastfeeding counselors that we share with the patients so that they can call any one of us. We are counselors at whatever time in the night.
Is there a price to the service, or
No,
is it
it's
the support is
free of
absolutely
charge.
I just had to make sure and ask.
Free.
But I want you then in that case, since it's free, right? Give me some tips, because when I became a father, I had to learn very quickly about some of the tips and tricks when it comes to breastfeeding, because I heard women complain about they feel like they're not generating enough milk, they're not getting enough, they're not able to give their children enough. So can you give us some of the tips? We know with the folklore there's talk about, some people say you drink a particular thing, or if you take some vervain tea, or all these kind of things that add to, are these myths or are they actually true?
So you mentioned two things there, and I want to piggyback on what you said. The support, you were there for your wife, and we are high on support, with husbands, significant others, mother-in-laws,
the family.
Family support, community support. And when I was in charge of the health center, I would talk with sometimes the older folk in a chronic disease setting about breastfeeding, and some people will say, well, why do you talk to these old people? They are not breastfeeding. But they are the ones who will tell the mothers, the young girls, give the child a bottle. If it's a boy, he pulling hard, so you need to give a bottle. So we talk to these people, tell them about the benefits of breastfeeding, the benefits to the mother and to the baby. And then you talk about how do we get more breast milk, because there is the myth that there is not enough milk. There is always enough milk. The breast milk, as long as you put the baby to the breast and the baby breastfeeds, the more the baby breastfeeds, the more milk is produced. So it's just a simple natural phenomenon.
Natural supply and demand.
Yes.
So the more baby demands the breast milk, your body naturally responds by producing the breast milk.
And what about in the case of mothers who have to go back out to work before that 6-month period is up, right? I mean, pumping. Does it work the same way?
Of course.
It works the same way, but we always advise mommies to stay hydrated. Hydration is important. Okay. We also encourage them, eat dark green leafy vegetables, take your supplements, try and get your rest periods in. Remember, when your body is stressed, it can affect your milk supply. So we want happy, positive thoughts, and that's where the family comes in. Family gives the support to help mommy when necessary, and then the body naturally responds. The hormone oxytocin steps in, and that's the love hormone, the feel-good hormone. So when that hormone steps in, it actually lets the breast milk down. So there's a lot of mechanics attached to breastfeeding, not just the act of putting baby to the breast.
So then in that case, then, does the postpartum situation, does that help or hurt the breastfeeding?
So with mothers who are experiencing postpartum depression or baby blues, the oxytocin that I spoke about, the feel-good hormone, when they're having a really beautiful breastfeeding experience, it actually declines the risk of mommy getting postpartum.
Okay. And here's my challenge, right? I mean, we talk about having a beautiful breastfeeding experience, but one of the things that I also heard lots of women complain about is the pain involved in it.
Yes.
Because it's a feeling that they weren't prepared for.
I know.
And it's a constant pulling, like you said, boys just pull hard and this and that, and all those things. So how do we help them to cope through that part of it?
The important thing here is putting the baby to the breast in the correct way, right? So that once the baby takes a big mouthful of the breast tissue, not only the nipple is just the medium through which the milk passes. What the baby has to get in the mouth is the areola, which is the darkened area over the nipple. That's where the reservoir of milk is. And so once you get the baby to latch on properly, there would be no pain. That's the magic.
That's the magic, and it's positioning and latching technique. That's all. Once you position baby and baby attaches effectively, there isn't any pain. Breastfeeding is not supposed to be painful. It is supposed to be a beautiful experience. If there is pain being experienced, then we know we have to correct.
Well,
that's where we come in.
Here's the thing, right? If it is that it wasn't common for it to be painful, they wouldn't have specific treatment just for the pain.
That is marketing strategy. That is marketing strategy.
The treatment for the pain is
proper latching.
Of course,
Yes.
getting the baby to latch on
And
properly.
even to heal a sore nipple, you have the treatment on you.
The
Same
breast
breast
milk.
The same
The
breast
breast
You
milk.
milk.
smear the breast milk on the areola,
Yes,
allow it
and
to
that-
air dry, and it heals immediately.
You
Mothers
have
can
enough
attest
time to
that.
air dry when that child always wants to come on the breast?
That's why we educate you on hand expression as well, so you could express the breast milk and give it to baby.
Well, but imagine the mothers who have like twins and triplets and things like
They
that.
will
So
have
you have
enough.
different positions.
Yes, and there are different positions
And
that you
based
could
upon what
use.
we said, supply and demand,
Right.
your body naturally responds. And the thing about the beauty of breast milk, it modifies to suit your baby's needs.
Ah.
So let's say a baby comes before time, you have a premature baby. That breast milk will have a larger content of protein and fat
Yeah.
because
Yes.
that baby has to play catch up.
Right.
Let's say it's on a hot day, the breast milk will
Yes.
be a little bit more watery to quench that baby's thirst.
Yes.
And no marketing brand can do that.
Yes,
Your
and that's
body
why
is magical,
that's
you know.
why we call it a living fluid.
Living,
breast milk.
magical
So
thing.
it changes according to the time of the day, as she said, according to the age of the baby,
Yes.
Yeah.
according to the maturity of the baby, and according to
The
the
need at that
time
time.
that the baby breastfeeds, so that the foremilk and the hind milk have different consistencies.
Right.
So
But sometimes I know as well that if it is your breastfeeding mom, sometimes you can get that backup that causes pain in terms of the
engorgement.
There we
call
go,
it.
engorgement.
Yes.
how
So,
do we
With that, we don't
what causes that in the first place?
a backup of the milk. When
Say
the
not-
milk comes in and the milk is too much for the baby, right? You find that the breast becomes full and hard and heavy and it's hot, right? All you got to do is empty the breast more often. Don't rest the breast. Don't rest the breast.
Don't rest the breast because you need to empty it.
You need
But what
to
about
empty.
you needing to rest? That'll come.
You will rest with a painful breast? Well, ladies,
I would imagine.
Well,
not.
ladies,
Don't rest
you
the
wouldn't
breast.
be able to rest.
So either you, the thing is, because the breast is swollen, the nipples are pulled back and the tissue is kind of stiff. So it's difficult for the baby to latch on.
Yeah.
So what we recommend is that you empty the breast, you hand express or you pump
Like pump,
it,
right.
right? And so you relieve that areola and you get the baby to latch on properly and just continue to breastfeed.
All right. So, ladies, before we go, you want to give them the contact number if they want to get in touch with NCRHA.
Okay, so anyone who needs counseling, not only postnatally, meaning after you had your baby, we also offer counseling antenatally. The contact number is 293-2818. Okay, 293-2818. That is the official breastfeeding phone for North Central Regional Health Authority.
Well, ladies,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining me this morning and for
Thank
sharing
you
this
for having
information.
us.
Not only did I benefit, but I'm sure the viewers benefited as well. So we take a quick break. We come back with more on the Now Morning Show. Stay tuned.